very warm good evening to you all. I, Solu Gautam, welcome you all to this 112th session of Mero Eye Talks webinar. Today, as a speaker, we have a very special guest, Ms Ukti Vora, and she will be talking on topic Make Your Mark. Before she begins, I would like to give her general introduction. Ms. Ukti is an MOptom, an MBA, and Fellow of American Academy of Optometry. Also, she is the Director of Clinical Affairs for Ocular Telehealth Company based in United States. And she is even the founder and host of the postcard channel Naughty Optometrist. I welcome you, Ms. Ukti, on the behalf of Mero Eye Foundation and all our participants. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Solu and Kapil, for organizing this event and welcoming me as a speaker. I just want to make sure that you all can hear me well and see me well. In case if there is any technical issues, please do leave on the comment section, and I'm sure I'll try my best to take care of it. Without further ado, I'm going to share my screen so we can start with the presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So, make your mark. This is a very, very special topic for me because I feel this is very crucial and important, and it is going to be something which all of you can relate to. Before we go into the core of the topic, let me tell you a small story of a company which is a global company, and I'm sure you all are aware about Airbnb. If you haven't heard about Airbnb, this story will be truly inspirational. I've also left the link of the video which tells you their journey. Airbnb is a story of three friends who were, out of which two were not even able to pay a rent, and then that idea turned it into a $10 billion company. Yes. Let me walk you through what really happened. Two of the friends were living in San Francisco, one of the most expensive places to live in. Trust me, I am in the Bay Area. Yes, it is super expensive. When they were trying to pay out the rent, they realized that their rent prices have gone high and they're not able to afford it. Well, as many of Indians do use the word jugaad or a hack, which they try to do in order to make easy and quick money, they thought, why don't we try an alternative or ways to make some money to pay the rent? Well, what did they decide? They thought, let us just rent out a room, which, to anyone who wants to come in and stay and make some money out of it. Well, guess what? They are ready to rent out the room, but they don't even have a bed. One of the friends says, I do have an air mattress, literally an air mattress. And that's where the entire idea and the website came in, air bed and breakfast. Yes, that is the story behind the name Airbnb. That idea made them earn $1,000 with three guests coming in and staying on that air mattress. Not only did they stay there, but they became friends as these two guest hosts took them around the city, made them see how beautiful San Francisco was, and started a friendship for life. Well, that gave them $1 billion idea. A problem of not being able to pay the rent actually took them to building something which is now the talk of the town and a way to live and visit different parts of the world. This is the story of Airbnb. Isn't it inspiring? Well, it definitely makes me feel if you are in a problem, if you come up with a solution, think about it. It might definitely be worth it. That is what we're going to talk about in this entire conversation, brand and brand story. What was their brand story? They wanted to build a trusted community, marketplace for consumers, or I would say guests, to list and discover book unique accommodations for travel experiences. Yes, everyone lives in hotels, and before that, there was no idea of living in someone's couch or in a room. But they did disrupt the market the entire living accommodation industry and found out a complete new alternative for people to visit places, get connected to the local culture. In a nutshell, they didn't make all the visitors or commuters or tourists an option which made them feel like home. If you haven't tried staying in Airbnb houses, of course, not at the current situation, but once things get better, do try it out. It is definitely worth it. Let's get into the technicalities. What is a brand? By definition, it is a name, term, design, symbol, or any feature that identifies one with a seller's good or service, right? I'm pretty sure these technical terms might be so relatable. The minute you look at the image on the right side, you know all of these brands, or I would say majority of them. And just looking at it, you would have an image of what the product is actually. What is the service? What is the feeling that comes through your mind when you look at these brands? I would say take a few moments, think about it. Each of these brands do have a brand story. A brand story is a cohesive narrative that encompasses the facts and the feeling that are created by your brand. In nutshell, it is something that gives soul to the script. If you just look at these brands and their brand story, you can totally relate to that. The minute you think of Coca Cola, they have related that thing to happiness, something that makes you smile each time you open a drink or soda. Apple has really made people think differently of the entire technology and the experience that they are trying to share with you. Each of these brands do share not just a brand name, title, logo, but also a story. You just have to see a part of it to completely understand what the brand is. A branding, as it might sound, is not just name and the logo. It is a comprehensive part which actually helps to create uh, three major things: value, trust, and identity. The first thing that I feel we all are focusing on is creating a value. What value is your brand or any brand trying to create in general? Apart from value, we are also trying to build a trust, something that will help us share and connect with the value that you are trying to sell or share with your users. It gives you a unique identity. I'm sure nobody will confuse a Coca Cola with an apple, right? Every brand has its own value, it has its different trust and a different identity. Well, there are two things that support these three major ideas: design and strategy. Something that will help you build and grow a brand, something that you will be able to connect to and help drive this value, trust, and identity. To support these, you have three tools: advertising, marketing, and logo. In all these things together will create a brand, a memorable brand that you can connect with. In simple terms, identity. Who are you? An image. What do you want people or consumer or your audience to perceive you as? Bring those the two things together makes you a brand. Well, we did talk about a tech startup, a tech story. Now, let me tell you a fantastic story in the eyewear industry: Warby Parker. If you haven't heard about them, do Google them. And their story is incredible. One of the friend, or again, it's a grad story. I feel young students, people who are actually sometimes not able to achieve what they really want, struggle with various financial issues, have come up with fantastic startups. So do review the story. One of a grad student broke his glasses in a backpacking trip. Being in America, when he tried to get new pair of glasses, it cost him $500. Yes, being a student, he wasn't able to afford it. What did he do? He spent an entire semester without glasses, squinting, having difficulty to see, something that you would not want any of your patients to go through. Well, the grad student came up with an idea: why do glasses or eyewear have to be so expensive? Why do luxury always comes with a higher price tag? Well, when they researched, they realized that there was monopoly in the market and everything was priced, all the prices were hiked up. Realizing the fact that many people are not able to afford and going through the same journey or the trouble of vision, headache, eye strain, and ability to perform, they came up with the company called Warby Parker. Warby Parker is so unique because of its core value and the idea of offering luxury eyewear at a completely revolutionary price. And not just that, they also offer a donation of an eyewear for every eyewear purchased. That is their core value and the brand story. As mentioned, they offer designer eyewear at a revolutionary price while leading the way for socially conscious business. I have to highlight the term socially conscious business because not only they provide eyewear or glasses to people in need, but even during the time of COVID, they were the first company to offer relief funds for their employees. Yes, their core value is based on being socially conscious. Something that they have gone through has still been there today, even though they've become a $3 billion company. Well, in a nutshell, what they're trying to do is offer a good eyewear with a good outcome. You can do it too if they can do it. Trust me. I do know I'm talking about all the brands, and you will be thinking, why do we have to look outside? We do have a super brand which you all can relate to, Mero Eye. When I spoke to couple and I did a little research on what they are doing and how did they come up with the idea, well, it is something that a problem couple of friends thought we need to tackle. They just didn't think of doing it themselves. They actually made sure that an entire nation, both optometrists and optometry students, come together to uplift, upgrade the eye health status of Nepal. That is what Mero Eye is all about. It might have been just an idea, something that they struggle to, help and support the eyewear or the optometry industry, but they are the one who made a revolution. Currently, they have a foundation, this webinar, where you can listen to amazing international speakers, which you might have not been able to, if they did not start this platform. They have journals, they have articles, different ways to upgrade the eye care and the eye health status of Nepal. That is what an idea can do. They're solving a problem with a rebellious spirit and with an emotion to do something good. Thank you, Mayor Ruai, for doing something which is incredible and supporting the community. Well, we did talk a lot about the companies, the organization who do have a brand and the brand recognition. As I mentioned, why does it matter as an individual? At this point, I would really want all of you to Google yourself. Google your name and see what comes up. Do you feel that it is something that you are happy with when you're looking at that things under your name? Well, I did Google three of many optometrists, and I want to share what did come up. Well, first I did Google optometrist Mr. Nilesh Thite. I'm sure many optometrists do know him and can relate to him very well. When you Google his name, it comes up as an author, speaker, contact lens educator, co founder. Well, All these terms adds a lot of value. It helps you believe and think this person knows what he's talking about. Because of all his work, you might also Google what an optometrist is. Trust me, all your patients do Google your name if they like your service, or they will surely Google your name if they do not like your service. We all have a computer in our hand, which we keep searching and walking around all the time, right? Going to another optometrist, which I would say on the right corner, is Dr. Daryl Glover. He is a famous and an influencer in United States. Someone who is fondly called your favorite optometrist. Imagine yourself being called that way. In a recent podcast that I did with him, it was funny that he shared the story. With before that, I thought he just calls himself a favorite optometrist. And he said that's not true. The term favorite optometrist came when his patients started calling him, "Where is my favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover?" Yes, that became so famous and viral in the entire eye care industry that now these two words, favorite optometrist and Dr. Daryl Glover, go hand in hand. And if you ever have a chance to Google him or connect with him on social media, you will be able to relate that too. He will become your favorite optometrist. This is something which is so incredible when your patients, someone who you are trying to relate to, is able to give you such a beautiful name. This surely tells you you are inspiring their lives. Last but not least, the co founder, the host, Mr. Kapil Gautam. When I Googled his name, this is what he had to say, aspiring to bring positive changes in aspect of optometry. Such a beautiful message that he's trying to share on the Google, right? I'm sure the minute you read this, you want to connect with this person. You want to connect with this identity and you trust him. All these things are great. You might say I can write anything, it will show up on the Google and I'll become famous. Well, that's not true. This is just a beginning. Just adding what you think on a Google platform doesn't really build that trust. All these three amazing optometrists did a lot of work to create that identity and build the trust. Their values are out there and their work speaks for it. So when you look at them, you do perceive with a lot of trust. Why is all this so important in optometry? Well, I have to highlight the top gaps in optometry branding, especially in countries like Nepal, India, where optometry curriculum or optometry profession itself is not completely regulated. Well, optometry itself needs more awareness. I'm sure you all agree to this. The fact that not many people do pick optometry as their first choice for profession talks about itself. Many a times, when patients come to your clinic or your hospital or your practice, they don't even know you are an optometrist. Well, there is a definite need to create more awareness. And people like Kapil Gautam and more like him are making sure that this awareness is out there with all their social media efforts. Famous optometrists are a rarity. How many famous optometrists do you know? Well, I'm sure Kapil and his team has done an incredible job to introduce you to some of the famous optometrists around the world. But still, if you have to compare, they are very, very few. We definitely have to increase those numbers, and you all can be one. The community is really small. Yes, we are a bunch of very few professionals, driving and running this profession. Having said that, do not underestimate your power. You definitely can make a difference. It only takes a couple of people, an idea to make it huge. Today, I have so many people listening to. I am able to connect to people in Nepal. All came through because of one idea, isn't it? So do not underestimate what can I do. Well, put in your heart and mind, to an idea that you believe in, and you definitely can make a difference in this entire community. When we talk about practices or hospitals or eye clinics, I do not think everyone does a good job in branding themselves in a unique way. There might be 10 optometry or optical outlets, optometry clinics, hospitals. But what makes you unique? What helps you stand out? Are you branding yourself? Well, if not, think about it, go back and spend some time on it. It's really worth it. I did talk a lot about the techniques, the hacks, the ideas. Now let me give you my quick cheat sheet, the brand building guide. This is something if you can crack, you will definitely be able to build a brand which includes everything: an identity, trust, core values, all your marketing tools, strategy, everything that will help you succeed. The first and the most important point is be authentic and innovative. Let me first talk about authentic. You are aware how many times you've been bombarded with new brands, new companies, new people around you through all the social media, right? How much time do you think an average person spends? 10, 15 seconds is the duration of an individual to even think about the brand. That's the only time you have, 10 to 15 seconds to leave an impact. Do you want to be someone who is just a copycat or a duplicate of some idea which is already out there? Absolutely not. You have to be authentic. That is what will help you set apart and grab the attention of your consumer, your audience, and your patients. Lucky enough, for those who are working in a private practice or connecting with the patients on a daily basis, you get a lot more time in to give personal touch to all these patients. But having said that, you should not stop there, because when they Google your name, they want to see what is your authentic offering and how are you different. Be innovative. The entire eye care industry overall, or I would say even the healthcare industry, is extremely laid back when it comes to innovation or adapting something that is unique and new. Well, we have seen a huge upsurge in the way people have been adapting innovative ways to connect with the people and innovative ways to rebrand themselves. But yet, there's a long way to go. So be innovative and do not fear experimenting ways to put out your brand out there. Always try and think outside the box. Another conversation I had with an optometrist from South Africa, which he suggested what he likes to do is look at what is happening outside the eye care industry. Yes, you can get inspiration anywhere and everywhere. So learn from what is happening around the world and think, how can I put this in my industry? How can I put this in my practice? How can I put this in my optical outlet? And you will see the magic. Building a brand is not something which you just is a one time thing. You have to be responsive and consistent. I can assure you, for everyone who has built a brand, you will agree to this 100% that being responsive and consistent is the key. It is not just a one time thing. Well, if it is a hit in the first time, for example, if you did something, you made a video, it went viral, great. But that success would not last. Trust me. To add a little more to the Airbnb story that I started with, though it sounds like, hey, you came up with an idea, it was successful, and you are able to make a $10 billion company, that's not true. They did have a dry patch where nobody wanted their service. So you always come up through the ups and downs, but you have to sail through that. So come up, be responsive, and be consistent. The brand is not built overnight. You have to constantly be attached to what you're trying to say, what is your story, and be consistent, whatever it may be. For example, if you're writing a blog, make sure you're consistent with writing a blog. If you're doing a webinar like Mero Eye, make sure you're consistent with it. If you want to put any YouTube video or have any social media channel, because I do know that is the current trend, you have to still be consistent. It if you don't feel making your brand is a task or a work, you're not doing it right. I have to say another quote from Warren Buffett, who said, "It takes 20 years to build a brand and 5 minutes to ruin it." If you all start thinking like this, you will be thinking differently. So make sure you're consistent and responsive. Brand strategy and story. Well, this is very, very crucial, as it is what will connect you with your audience. Building a brand is actually building a relationship. As you're trying to build a relationship with a human, it takes a lot of things to actually have that connection. You don't connect to every person around you, isn't it? Similarly, you don't connect to every brand. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a story. Something that tells why have you started your brand? Why are you even doing this in the first place? Whether it's doing a webinar, writing a blog, talking to a patient, having an optometry clinic, working in a hospital, everything begins with why. Why are you doing it? And if you find your answer, make sure you share your story with your patients, with your audience, with your consumers, with your customers. That this is the reason I have chosen the profession, because it gives me an opportunity to help people see better. Share your story. Share your story why you even came into the profession. Not just because this was the only option left. Well, maybe that is where the story started. But if you are in love with the profession, you want to promote it and talk positively about it. Brand essence or core values. Well, this is the part which will give soul to the script. Any brand or strategy manager can give you the perfect recipe to build a brand. Yes, they'll tell you, write about your core values, write about what is this brand about, write about what is the uniqueness about it. And you will be penned down. You can actually Google it and you will find hundred of standard ways of what are the core values or what should be the core values. Scrap that. Do not even look into it and do not even think about it in that manner. Your core value is something that is very personal to you. It is something that you can relate to and talk confidently with love, compassion. It is like your cultural values. Being part of India, Nepal, or any country that you belong to, I'm sure you do carry some cultural values, something that is very personal, which you can connect to at a deep root level. Even your brand, even your identity as an optometrist, as an eye care provider, as an optical owner, needs to have those core values. Something which you are not ready to compromise at any given point. Make sure your brand has those values and has that brand essence that will make it unique and different. Make sure you have those things written somewhere. If required, make sure you actually print it out and put it up there. So, in case if you get distracted, something where you are not sure if you're going in the right direction, those core values will bring you back and help you make a sane decision. Just ask the question, why? Why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? And why do you think it is important to people you are helping, serving, and connecting with? Last but not the least, brand differentiation, the unique selling point. I'm pretty sure you're not the first one who would be trying to do something completely different in the say in the eye care industry as we talk about. Well, if you are bringing up something completely unique, well, I'm sure the world is waiting for you. But if you aren't, if you're just an alternative to a service or product that already exist, make sure you have a clarity of what is brand differentiation for you. What makes you different? If you do not have an idea, or if your patients or your consumers are not able to understand what your unique selling point is, they will not connect with you. They will not understand your story. They will not even know what your core values are. They don't care if you're consistent or not. They won't feel you're authentic. So, as you can see, everything is so connected. And make sure you know what makes you unique and what makes you different. This 5 point guide, if you keep this in mind while building your brand as an organization, as a clinic, as an optometrist, it can surely take you places. Well, but there are a couple of things you want to take care of before you even enter into this brand building thing. Before I tell you what are the things to avoid, let me tell you another story. Yes, as you can see, I enjoy telling stories. Well, imagine you are sitting in a place with your coworkers or your fellow optometrist or your friends, right? Not at this point. Maybe you can do a virtual meeting at this in the current scenario, but imagine you're sitting together enjoying a good time. Someone stands up and shouts, "Hey, I'm the best person out here. Join me, have fun with me, if I can entertain you and I can bring value to you." What will your reaction be? I'm sure you will be hesitant. You will wonder what's wrong with that person and make sure to avoid him or her for rest of your life. That is something you do not want people to think about your brand. I know when we talk about branding, as I even started earlier, marketing is one of the tools and not the core idea behind marketing. Behind branding. So let me tell you what are the distinct difference between branding versus marketing. Branding is who you are. It's your identity. While marketing is how you build awareness. Just because you're an optometrist doesn't mean you've marketed yourself well. As I mentioned in my previous slides, we all are struggling to create that awareness. We are really working hard to make sure that the brand or the optometry is getting recognized around Nepal, India, and many other countries where the profession is not fully regulated. This clearly tells you it just because who you are as a brand doesn't mean that there is an awareness. Just because there is an awareness, people might not know you. So please understand, branding and marketing are completely different. Also, branding is your strategy. It has multiple umbrella of insights and strategy, trust, logo, tons of things that actually makes it a unique. Wherein marketing encompasses your tactical goals, what you want to really achieve. It is not something that you're building or something that identifies you. It's a tool that drives you to your goals. Branding is at the core of your marketing strategy. So branding must come first. Yes, write down your brand first. Marketing is just a tool, something that drives it to the people, helping you create an awareness. Your branding is what generates a timeless connection, while marketing keeps evolving with products. Let me give you an example of Mero Eye. They came up with a brand idea. We want to do something to uplift the optometry profession in Nepal, right? You connect with the brand, you connect with the idea, and that is something which will stay with you always. But is that it? Meru Eye is also a foundation. It has online courses, it has journals, it has articles. They're marketing the Meru Eye through all these channels, all different products and services they have to offer. But the connection still remains the same. It is something that helps you drive, grow, and uplift optometry in Nepal. That is the difference between branding and marketing. Now, talking about the previous story of someone standing out and shouting, "Hey, I'm the best person," and you trying to avoid them, as mentioned, you do not want to be the one. So these are the myths about branding you really want to be aware about and stay away from. Having a brand name and logo is branding. Not at all. That is a complete myth. Anyone can come up with a brand name and a logo, but the story behind it, the core values, the idea behind it, the uniqueness about it is what will give you the brand identity. If you do not have a product to sell, you might think, what can I do as an individual? Do I have my own logo? Not necessary. All you have to do is talk about your service. Connect to the people as an optometrist and tell them you are an optometrist. Offer the best eye care service to every patient that comes into your clinic or your practice. That gives you your brand name and identity. That is your logo. When someone comes and tells you, where is my favorite optometrist? If you aim for that, you have been able to create the brand name and the logo that the companies are talking about. Even if being part of an organization, you can create this identity. So don't think the branding is not for an individual, it is for companies and organizations. I don't have anything to do with it. Not at all. In fact, there are people who believe a company and an individual, even though at a successful level, do have a complete different identity and a uniqueness. When you talk about Sundar Pichai or Google, Sundar Pichai has his own identity. When you listen to him or when you look at him, he comes across as an innovator, as a genius, someone who is a leader. Well, Google is something which you can connect to as a one-stop place for everything and anything you're looking for, right? As a company might change and evolve, that definitely needs a brand identity. So do you. Do not confuse yourself and say, if a company or an organization has a name, why should I do it? Or if I have a brand identity or the name, my company will do it as well. Not necessary. Always have your unique identity, something where people can relate to as an individual. That will drive your brand. Adding random post messages on social media is branding. This is something which I have to mention. I have seen with the recent trend of putting everything on social media, people do confuse that marketing is branding. Do not create noise. Do not come up with something which is just copy paste. Nobody wants to listen to that. Make sure that you have an idea, a thought, and a story behind it. Branding is just one time thing. It's not. It's actually something, uh, a lot of effort that you're putting in building a relationship. As I mentioned, it takes 20 years or so to build a brand. You might, when you start building an identity or a brand, people might not even know you. Well, don't worry. It takes years of efforts, sometimes few months to a year, just for someone to recognize you or say, hey, I think I know you. So give it your time. Do not think it will happen overnight. Nothing changes overnight if you want it to last forever. I control my brand. Partially, maybe yes, but not really. You can put 1,000 things out there, but if they are just random things without any core or the soul, you do not control your brand. Your audience, your consumers, your patients do it. They will not identify you. They won't even care about you. They won't even know who you are. So just make sure you think 10 times before you put anything out there while building your brand. Well, there is, I'm sure you all think or might feel, is there a secret recipe to build a brand? Well, I have to share this video, which is so motivational, which always keeps me going when someone shared it with me. If you haven't seen this movie, it's definitely worth watching. But this piece will actually give you the reason of an idea of what a secret recipe looks like. So do enjoy.
I don't know, Dad. Honestly, sometimes I can't believe I'm actually your son. Paul, I think it's time I told you something I should have told you A long time ago. Okay. The secret ingredient of my secret ingredient soup. Oh. Come here. The secret ingredient is nothing. Huh? You heard me. Nothing. There is no secret ingredient. Wait. It's just plain old noodle soup? You don't add some kind of special sauce or something? Don't have to. To make something special, you just have to believe it's special. There is no secret ingredient.
Well, I love this movie. It's called Kung Fu Panda. If you haven't seen it, do watch it. And as it rightly said, you might feel he or she can do something because they're unique, they're special. Not really. They are unique, they are special because they believed in it. They believed in the idea. They believed in what they're doing will make a difference. There is no secret recipe. There is just a secret belief that yes, you are special. As my last slide, I really want to see something like this come up in the newspapers where we are able to reach out to people and make sure that we provide the idea that optometry is the number one profession in healthcare. I truly believe in it. And I want all of you to pass on these messages so they believe in it as well. Accelerate your impact as you can make a difference. Your actions truly matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yukti. Actually, it was indeed a very great session for all of us. Well,
Thank you so
now
much.
it's time for the discussion session to begin. Are
Mhm.
you ready, ma'am, to take the questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, our first question goes as how to differentiate or make uniqueness optical shop from other who are sharing same location.
I love this question and thank you so much for asking it. As I rightly mentioned in the entire presentation, first of all, you have to think what do you have to offer that makes you unique. When there are 10 stores in say in an area of say 2 kilometers or few miles, why will someone come to your store or your shop? Do a market survey, do a market research, do it from a patient or a consumer perspective that what is that something that is missing which you can provide in your optical outlet. Is it the range of eye care services that other optical outlets are not providing? Maybe you can offer specialty contact lenses, you can offer vision therapy treatments, low vision. You can connect with the doctors and ask them to refer it to you because you have an entire range of services to offer in eye care. That could be one thing. If that is what you believe in and your consumers are looking for. Another thing to differentiate your optical could also be the kind of service you're offering. Remember, making a good website, having a lavish or a very well optical setup, well, it is important, but those are the basics. Are you able to communicate the reason behind why you started an optical outlet or your business? Why is it different than the 10 other around the area? If you yourself cannot define it or cannot think of it, how will your consumer think? So, see where you want to differentiate the service, the quality of service, the range of eye care services you have to offer, the products. The options are unlimited. Think about it, what makes you unique, and I'm sure you'll have the answer.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful answer. Moving forward, we have another question by Mr. Azaz Saha. Miss
Mhm.
Yukti, I want to open an optical shop. Could you please suggest me an attractive and unique name for the same?
Well, Iras, thank you so much for the question. Well, it's very difficult for me to give you an attractive or a unique name, but I'll give you a couple of hacks how I came up with my brand name, Nerdy Optometrist, and I hope that will help you. First thing again, why are you opening your optical shop? What do you want to communicate? And how do you think it will relate to the people around you? Well, when I looked at the options when I was creating my brand name for the podcast, Nerdy Optometrist, I wanted to be unique. There were already a few podcasts that did exist. People used to call me nerdy because I used to, always be sitting around studying something, trying to learn, and always be in academics. But when I Googled the word nerdy, it did show that it has two meanings. One would be someone, who is very studious, someone who is always like a bookworm, but it also is like a cooler version of it and something more fun, someone who you can be, connected to at that level. And that reflected my personality. That is how I came up with the name Nerdy Optometrist, someone who is cool as well as educated. So think about the uniqueness in the same manner. You don't have to, your name doesn't always have to be super fancy. But remember, when you're putting up a name, it has to be unique. It has to tell some story that is very close to your heart. And I'm sure you will find your answer.
Okay, well, that was a very great answer. Moving forward, we have another question by Mr. Assis Acharya. How important do you think keeping branded products in an optical outlet?
How important it is to keep a branded products in an optical outlet? Well, it depends on your target audience. It completely depends what do your consumer need. There are two ways to look into it. One, if you're talking about that is your consumer's need, when you do your market research, try to Google, what are the most common brands that are being sold in that area or in that community. What are the people more attracted to? Are they brand conscious? Are they price conscious? If you know those answers, you know whether you want to keep a brand or not. That is one thought and one idea. Another approach and another important thought is, do you want to introduce branded products as an additional service or a unique service in your optical shop? If yes, definitely keep a branded products, but make sure you're not keeping it just because you think everybody is keeping and it's a trend. When you're trying to sell or talk about branded products, you actually need to able to communicate and change the consumer behavior. Not everyone was thinking that they would buy $1,000 iPhone, right? They changed the idea at how amazing this brand will be, and it can really serve XYZ requirements of yours. So there are two ways of thinking whether you should or should not have and branded product in your optical shop.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Moving forward, we have another question by Mr. Zulfikar. Yukti, ma'am, I have had come across this ideology some time ago that if anyone is planning to open a startup or business or healthcare, it is said that before doing that, if they create online presence, then it would help them getting recognized. What are your thoughts, ma'am?
I actually feel, thanks, first of all, thanks Zulfikar for this question. I have to say, Zulfikar is another entrepreneur, a student, and a young optometrist. For those who don't know, he has his entire own webinar series called Online Optometry Learning Series Program, OOLS, and he is the co founder of it. He is a student and a very young practitioner, which I look up to and get inspired as well. So, first of all, thank you, Zulfikar, for this question. I completely agree in the current scenario. People Google each and everything. So, starting your brand presence online will definitely give you an add on advantage. There are a couple of things that you have to remember when you're trying to create your online presence. One is you have to create some uniqueness, and it takes time to build. Just because you have posted something, people are now going to follow or believe you. But currently, the online reach or the outreach that an online presence has will help you deliver all these ideas of trust, loyalty, creating that recognition at one condensed platform. And then, if you try to sell any product or connect your online presence with the product, it definitely makes it easier for you to sell the product because people already know and connect with you. But make sure you do not the values or the core idea behind what you're trying to sell or the product and the identity that you've created online, it should coincide. It shouldn't be that you're talking about say you're talking about innovation but you're selling a product which is 200 years old, or you're talking about taking care, creating positivity in optometry profession, or want to have some social awareness, and what you're trying to sell is something which is for profit with a core idea of making money, and it does not relate to the identity that you've created. So make sure whether you're selling a product and service that rides on the optometry, or the online identity that you have created, they both should be coinciding. It shouldn't be different. Only then it makes sense.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Moving forward, we have another question. How would you explain the entrance barrier? Not to share the same idea or make difficult to get entrance for the same business.
Well, I love this question. This is actually very, very interesting. So, first of all, thank you so much for asking. Let me break these two questions for you. The first, how do you explain how do you break the entrance barrier? It all comes down to what is your unique idea. As I mentioned even in my previous story of Warby Parker, when they came up with an eyeglasses that could be sold for $95 instead of $500, you see they are actually breaking the 300% like margin which is already existing. But they were not the first one. They were not someone were the only one who thought about creating the branded glasses or the luxury eyewear at an affordable prices. What made them unique is the idea that they are selling luxury glasses. So they made sure that they do not compromise on the quality. That was one unique selling point which connected with people. Another fact that this whole brand came up when one of the co-founders had to be without glasses for about 6 months or the entire semester and had to struggle. They realized there will be thousands of people in developing countries or around the world who do not have access to eye care. So they started a foundation where for every glasses that is bought, they do donate one eyewear. These were the way that these were two things that made them different from all the competitors, even though there already were existing competitors in the market. So always think what is the uniqueness that you have to offer. And what I always like to do is write it down, talk to your consumers or the audience that if you can connect to in a small group, and also go back and speak to your friends and family. They are your biggest critique. They will tell you whether it's truly unique or not, because when we come up with an idea we think this is fantastic and this is the best. Well, that might not be true. So do a little research, connect with people, do a brainstorming, and I'm sure they'll help you break the barriers. Another piece that I would like to say is, make sure that your core ideas or the values are out there. Don't just do it because everyone is doing it. There are very amazing and interesting TED talks which also talks about how to create that differentiations, because sometimes it might be difficult. You feel, hey, I'm selling glasses, ultimately, how am I being different? But as I mentioned, you have to see what is the requirement, what is the gap, what is the pain point that you're trying to solve with your optical outlet, with your clinic, with your service and eye care industry, and you will find your answers out there.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thus far, these are only the questions that have been raised by our attendees. We will be waiting for some few minutes if anyone is willing to ask. Is that all right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Fakrudin, for your wishes. And yes, he's another inspiring optometrist who is also the co-founder and the Baroda Wala brothers, the dynamic duo of OOLS. So thank you so much, Fakrudin. And well, it's a pleasure to hear great comments from your end.
Okay, I guess we have answered almost all the questions till now. And considering the time limit, here I announce the closure of discussion session. Also, I would like to thank you all for coming up with the queries and making the discussion session more interactive. I would again like to express my immense gratitude towards our speaker, Ms. Yukti, for her invaluable insights and to all the attendees for their endurance. Also, I would like to thank all the direct and indirect helping hands for this iTalks program. Before wrap up, I request our today's presenter, Yukti ma'am, to share her few words to our program.
Well, I think Meru, I did actually talk a lot throughout my presentation, but just to give a um, closing comment, I think you're doing an incredible job of bringing the community, the eye care community together in your country, and actually by bringing all the national and international speakers on this platform, the kind of exposure I have got of what is happening in and around Nepal, which I probably would have not known if it was not for you guys. So I would like to thank each and every member of Mero Eye for all the hard work that you guys are doing. Keep up the good work, all the best, and there's a lot of work to be done. So let's all contribute toward this common goal of providing best eye care and an optometry awareness around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's our immense pleasure to have you with us today, and we would love to see you again in the future.
Definitely.
Okay. Herewith,
Thank
I
you.
announce the closure